Hi, Ian.
Hi, is that Nadia?
Yes, that's me.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks. Sorry, I was just running out of one meeting into another. I'm busy doing
No
pure.
problem.
It's been a bit crazy. Can I just check to see if I
Yes.
connect the screen that you can
Yeah,
see?
so I've made you host, so you should be able to share your screen.
Let's just have a look. If I click on there, can you see my screen?
We can see you.
Okay, can see me. Let me just try.
And then I think click share.
Sorry, I know Teams better than yeah, share screen.
Share screen, yeah.
Can you see me?
Okay. Yes, we can see it.
Okay, super, super, super. All right.
Are there any audios in your
No, there's not.
No. Okay, perfect.
Okay, super, super, super.
So I think you can just click on slideshow and you'll be good to go.
Okay, brilliant stuff. All right.
Do you want to just make sure it works by clicking in?
What, my slideshow?
Yeah, just to see if it comes up properly. So if you go up to your toolbar, if you go up to your toolbar, it says slideshow. And then, yeah, and then you can use that, and then you can say, yeah, from beginning. So let's have a look.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, super, 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 super.
Okay.
All right, great stuff.
Let's see if I can.
Okay, perfect.
So we're just going to wait for a few more people to come through. There we go.
How long you been with the group, Nadia?
For about 3 years now.
Okay.
3 or 4.
Where were you before?
World Leisure Holidays.
Oh, okay. So you're from the tourism industry. That's awesome.
Yeah. Flight Center before that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, always travels in the blood.
I was going to say you've been around, but that would just be rude.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. I think we got a nice group coming in. Ready 23.
Ian, it's Angela from Samsung. How are you?
Are you well?
Good, all fine, thanks.
Excellent, excellent.
So, Ian, you from Rovos Rail, right?
That's correct, yes.
That's your baby.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just wait a few more minutes and then we can start because I see people are still coming in. Okay, let's do this. Okay, there we go. Wasn't prepared for a camera interview.
You're no pajamas allowed on today's session.
No, I'm actually from the office. So we're in the boardroom at the moment. I don't know if you can see it. And it is pouring with rain in Durban. Pouring. It's cloudy and it's windy and it's wet. So, yeah.
Send some rain up to Gauteng. We need some. All the new leaves are out on the trees and we haven't had rain in ages. So we really need.
Oh, no, that's sad.
I commute between Eastern Cape and Pretoria because I actually
Okay.
and I'm half week in PE, half week in Pretoria. And
Oh,
there's
wow.
no rain at all in the Eastern Cape. That's even worse. So maybe
I know my agents were telling me yesterday, I was speaking to a few of them and they were like, it's so dry, like so dry.
It's, you know, our dams are like down to 3%. So I've just had to have this new fitting put into my borehole that we can pump borehole water into the house in case there's
Oh,
no
wow.
water to run baths or run showers rather, flush loos and that type of thing. But there's so much calcium in the water that they've had to put filters onto it. So I'm trying to do what I can do.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think it was that bad.
No, the Eastern Cape were a lot more quiet about this whole water crisis than what the Western Cape was, you know, with that whole ground zero.
Yeah.
There is literally, they say 3% water in our dams. And so it's terrible, terrible.
Sure, that is actually scary. We don't have, like, honestly, over here, we're not hearing anything about the water shortages. Even if I mean, most of the stuff is done online and on News 24, except there's nothing about shortages of water. So we actually don't know that's happening.
I think the Eastern Cape are probably taking a bit of a different stance to Western Cape, where they know it affected their tourism. So I think the Eastern Cape is keeping very mum about this whole thing. And maybe the ostrich syndrome, I'm not sure.
That's also true.
We're hoping that, you know, dams, you know, will fill up so that there is no issues when it comes to tourism.
Sure.
But it's very, very quiet, yeah. But if
That
you
is
go
scary.
look at the percentages of the dams in the areas, it's frightening.
Oh, wow. I mean, the fact that you actually have to amend your home to get water is quite severe.
You know what? I'd rather be proactive than sit back one day and go, oh my word, well, I wish I had done that, you know, and then there's a queue, everybody's trying to do it. So I'm lucky I've got another source of water. The water's not clear enough to drink, but it's definitely will be good enough to flush a loo or to run a quick shower, you know.
No, of course, I agree with you.
It's been ongoing for many years, and I think they've also taken their time on actually, you know, fixing up stuff.
Okay, we've got about 50 participants, so thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It's an absolute honor having everyone here still doing trainings with us. And we've been very blessed to get Ian from Rovos Rail joining us and giving us a bit about his product. So you guys can, well, you can actually take it away, Ian, when you're ready.
Super, thank you. I'm Ian from Rovos Rail. By way of introduction, so I want to give you a quick overview of who we are and what roles we fill. With COVID, just like the rest of the industry, there have been some changes to us. We've had two of our staff members go into retirement, Joyce Straydon from the Western Cape and Beatrice Colon, who looked after some of our European markets. So to give you an idea of the roles and that type of thing, we have a girl in my team, her name is Alicia. She heads up the USA market and she does Canada. I look after the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, France, South America. Then I look after from Durban, the Eastern Cape, the Western Cape, on a local basis, and then from Central Africa upwards. So that is my market there. But today we're going to talk about Rovos Rail and our train. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a quick presentation. This presentation will give you an overview of who we are and what we're about, and maybe highlight more of the changes that have taken place at Rovos Rail. So what I mean by that is that during COVID, we have put some new trips together, which we'll be launching. So it's more of a product update than a brand new training session based on the fact that people don't know us at all. So if any of you are needing an update that need more than just this updated information session, please just drop me your email address and I'll contact you, you know, outside of the session, and then I'll set up some time to talk you through some of our other routes and that type of thing. So please feel welcome to do that. So I'm going to share my screen now with yourselves, and then what we'll do is we'll take it from there. So, All right, can everybody see my screen? All right, so
Sorry, Ian, do you want to click on slideshow at the top of your toolbar?
yeah, let's do that.
Further down. Slideshow. One more. Next to animation.
Next, there.
There we go.
Okay.
Cool.
Is it full screen? Can everybody see? Do I need to make it larger?
You can click on resume slideshow. It's right here in the middle of your presentation.
Sorry, I know the other.
Scroll down. You can even go from beginning if you want.
Oh,
there we go.
Okay, super.
Cool.
All right, so I always say to people, we're the green train of South Africa, obviously not the blue one. So we're hailed as the most luxurious train in the world. It's a title that we're very, very proud of, and we hold on to it with white knuckles. So during our COVID lockdown, we made use of renovating some coaches and building some new ones. And all the time we are changing configurations to ensure that we have the most spacious suites possible, the biggest closet spaces, that type of thing, in order for us to keep that title. This image here is a picture of Capital Park. To our knowledge, we're the only privately owned railway station in the world that has its own station. So we're very proud of this property. So most of our departures will either start or end in Capital Park. This building was built in the 1940s, and it was originally built as a steam training academy. So that means that anybody that wanted to work on a steam train, back in those days, they were, all gents, they would have to go to a steam train academy. And there was one in Germiston and then this one at Capital Park. So when we took the property over in the late 1990s, this property had been standing derelict for many, many years. And we went on an expansive project where we changed it from an ugly looking government building into our beautiful colonial looking type of station. So we built this upstairs viewing deck over here. The downstairs area is our departure lounge. That originally used to be the workshop where the gentleman worked on the locomotive components. And then upstairs was the formal classroom where they wrote the examinations to progress from one type of locomotive, one class of locomotive to the next. Just outside of this image on the right-hand side is where my office is. And then I'm actually sitting in this lounge on the left-hand side here at this moment in time because there's a meeting going on in my office. So what we do is at departure, we'll bring our steam train onto the platform on its own. We don't do steam train journeys anymore. We are not allowed to travel with our steam train on the national network. We're allowed to go as far as Krugersdorp or as far as Germiston, but thereafter we may not use steam trains on the national network. On that basis, we do all of our shunting at Rovos Rail using steam. So on a daily basis, you'll see the steam train going up and down, doing shunting. And also to bring that drama that we want at the departure is we bring the steam train onto the platform. Great photo moment. Your guests are welcome to climb up into the engine part, chat to our driver. They can stand, look through the window and blow the whistle. Great photo moment there. It's also something that as South Africans is going to be something that we soon will not see going forward, is that steam trains are not freely available like they were in the bygone days. Then what happens is that steam train will leave the platform. We then usher our guests inside our departure lounge where we do a departure speech. That speech is usually done by Rowan Foss, our owner and founder, hence the name Rovos Rail, Rowan Foss. Rowan will then do a departure speech, and it will include items like health and safety, what you can expect for lunch and dinner in the form of 4 courses with your wine pairing, what excursions you'll expect during that journey, safety tips like when you leave your room, please close your shutter to avoid opportunities where people may see a camera and want to go for it. So those type of items will be covered during the departure speech. If Rowan is not available, then that speech will normally be done by myself. Then what happens is while we're doing that speech, we will then shunt the train that is going to host our guests onto the platform whilst we're doing the speech. And that is one of those moments where I absolutely love watching the guests' reaction. Because what happens is they turn around and then they watch the train arrive on the platform. And it's the first time they see this green train that is now been, coming onto the platform. It will then stop outside the departure lounge. And at the end of the departure speech, we will then call the guests up by name. And they'll be escorted to their suites where their luggage will be waiting for them. And the hostess will then give them a quick overview of the room, what document they must fill out in order to keep their minibar, well stocked with the drinks of their preference, which is a very important document to do. Do we need to do any pressing, for dinner tonight, your evening wear, that type of thing. So there is a laundry on side the train, so therefore we, would offer that service as well. So that's it's quite an important part of the trip to set the tone, and then guests know exactly who their hostess is. We will then depart using steam for about a couple of kilometers outside of our yard. Then we'll uncouple the steam locomotive, and the rest of the journey will be done on steam or electric. We are legally obliged to use the traction provided to us by Transnet. And Transnet is the owner of the railway lines in Southern Africa. And that is our biggest operational expense that we have at Rovos Rail, is what we pay Transnet to use their infrastructure in order for us to do a journey. So it is not our locomotives and it is not our drivers that are on the train. And on that basis, even though we own our own locomotives, we are allowed to use those from Messina, and we use those locomotives when we go from Victoria Falls into Victoria Falls, or if we do a trip to Dar es Salaam. From Messina onwards, it would be our traction into Dar es Salaam, and if we do Angola as well, that will be our locomotives used at that time. So the drama that goes with it at departure is quite phenomenal, and that is that distinct advantage we've got over our opposition is that we have got a beautiful private station. We love to show that property off. So pre-departure or post-arrival, we do a site tour, and that site tour, we're walking around our property, and we will show them our building projects. This is where we keep our rolling stock. We do our build-out projects from here. Our steam, our engineering department is there, so all of our locomotives are standing there, and we'll give them a quick overview of what we have. We also have a little museum, so we encourage guests to come to check in an hour before departure. Actually, even an hour and a half is more appropriate because it gives them some time to then go to our museum, which is a collection of memorabilia. Also quite an interesting walk around there. That's an older picture taken of our departure lounge. We need to take an updated one. It's a champagne departure, or rather South African bubbly on departure. So we have a red carpet and hot drinks, cold drinks, and South African bubbly is served at departure with canapes. We do have at the back area over here, this is a gift shop. We do have gift shops on the train as well. The one at the station is just a little bit more comprehensive. It's got a bigger space so we can carry a wider range of gifts. And that's the only time your guests will actually physically put their hand in their pocket. It's when they buy a gift from the gift shop, or if they organize a transfer from the train, or if they are buying any visas. So we will organize the border officials to come to the train in most cases. Our guests don't normally have to stand in a queue for any form of immigration. However, the costs of the visas will be an expense that will be passed on to your guests, but that is all disclosed at the time of making the booking as well. Capital Park on the right-hand side, you can see Rowan Foss, our owner. He's actually doing a site tour. Our guests that go on the site tour, and it's a voluntary thing, it takes about 45 minutes in duration. We always encourage people to wear sensible walking shoes. Because we are a privately owned railway station, we are still required from a health and safety perspective to adhere to certain safety requirements. And that would include our guests on the tour actually wearing a safety vest. This is standing outside a coach that we are busy building or refurbing at the moment. And just, as a matter of interest, we buy those coaches at scrap metal prices. You would see some of these derelict coaches standing on sidings outside of stations. We normally buy them from Transnet on auction, and it would take a team working 6 days a week, 3 months in order to refurb one coach. So it's quite an extensive process. What we virtually do is we just keep the undercarriage. A lot of the time the sides will be rusted. We'll have to cut out sections and weld in new plates and stuff. And it's at our yard, we have our own Excursions, we have our own air conditioning specialists, refrigeration specialists, everyone that you could imagine in order to maintain our trains and to build those trains. During lockdown, we did a massive refurb program, which was quite a good opportunity for us to actually have the stock out of circulation in order for us to do some necessary maintenance. This is a map of Southern Africa, and it's really, with all the red lines, is a summary of all the trips that we do on Rovos Rail collectively. This does not mean that those are all the railway lines in South Africa. There are a lot more. And anywhere in Southern Africa where there is a railway line, Rovos Rail can put a journey together in the form of a charter on an exclusive basis. So these are just the trips that we exercise, but our trips are not limited to those alone. I'm going to cover Shangri-La Express. We bought her 7 years ago. She came to us as a very tired 3-star product, and she's gone through a massive revamp. So any of you that know Shangri-La Express will not recognize her. To the untrained eye, she looks no different to Rovos Rail. She's beautiful. She really is. She's now green in color, not that tired Maury biscuit color that she was before. And the carpets that we uniquely woven for, we uniquely weave for Rovos Rail is what we use on Shangri-La as well. So from a brand identity perspective, she fits well with our group, and the quality that we would expect our passengers to enjoy on Rovos Rail is what they would expect on Shangri-La Express. Initially, we wanted to market her as a 4-star product just to differentiate Rovos Rail from Shangri-La. However, our owners don't know how to do stuff on half measures. So it really is, she's a 5-star product. You can comfortably sell her as a 5-star product. And she just is absolutely beautiful. You'll see it's the same artwork we use on Rovos Rail. It's the same light fittings we use on Rovos Rail. It's the same wood fittings we use on Rovos Rail. It's the same cabinet maker that manufactures all of our furniture. It's the same chap doing this furniture. So she looks like Rovos Rail. Her bathrooms look like Rovos Rail. And this is the gold cabin. This is the entry level. So this is the equivalent to what a Pullman is. If you know what a Pullman looks like on Rovos Rail, there'll be 5 Pullmans onto a coach. And what we have now done is, previously when you booked a twin on Rovos Rail, this bedding was made up, separate mattresses, separate bed linen, but you were sleeping shoulder to shoulder. So that means that if you were sharing a suite with Grandpa, and Grandpa's foot went underneath your duvet, you could actually physically feel it, and that's a bit creepy. So well, we've now redesigned the bed, and you can see in this image here, the wooden kick plate at the bottom of the bed, there's a gap here, and there is a sliding plank over there. There's a mattress that goes in there, and then there's a pillow top that goes across the 3 mattresses to make it a queen size bed, or it will physically be a pathway in between the 2 beds. So they are now physically true twin beds. You can see this image here, the hostess is making up the bed, standing in the narrow passageway between the two beds. So, and we've now started with our refurbs on Rovos Rail doing the same thing. So on Rovos Rail, if you're sleeping twin, you can now book a suite which will have a passageway in between the 2 beds. So definitely an advantage there. This is the Emerald. The Emerald is the top of the range on Shangri-La Express. There's only 2 suite types, or we call them cabins on Shangri-La. And she is now the same size as a Rovos Rail Deluxe Suite. So on one coach, you would have 3 Emerald suites, where, I mentioned before on Gold, you would have 5. So to give you an idea of the space, these little switches over here, we have on all of our trains, and those are the controls for electric blankets on the bed. All of the suites have own individual air conditioners. We are not a centralized cooling or heating system. So my personal preference is I love the aircon going, all the time. However, my travel companion can't stand it. So, you can decide to open up the window behind the blind. From a safety perspective, it will still be a safe option there. So same art, like I said to you before. On Rovos Rail, we have no luggage restrictions. So the entire length of the suite, in actual fact, there is luggage packing space, and there's always ample space under the bed as well for extra suitcase. We have large wardrobes as well. Some guests prefer just to unpack the clothes that they will want to use on Rovos Rail or Shangri-La. On Shangri-La Express, we only have one type of dining car, and this is what the dining car looks like here. So Rovos Rail chairs, Rovos Rail carpets, the curtaining and the bedding, we've gotten slightly more ethnic than what we do on Rovos Rail, but that's the type of look and feel. Same crystal, same silver that we use on Rovos Rail, we use on Shangri-La Express. So from a quality perspective, your guests can expect no less than Rovos Rail. At the back of the train as well, we do have an ops car. That is our signature piece on all of our train sets, both Rovos and Shangri-La, where there's a bar area. And then just outside of this image over here, you'll see that there's a saloon section where there is tub chairs and sofas. And then beyond that, there is a sliding door that takes you to an outside veranda area. Great place to stand, to feel the South African sun on your skin and the wind in your hair, and a very romantic place to go after dinner, to go have a nightcap, and then you can look at the stars and feel the night air on your face. It's absolutely stunning. It's my happy place on the train. There is, on all of our trains, we do have a smoking area. Years before, we did allow smoking inside the suites. That is now a thing of the past. We do ask guests on their reservations form if they are smokers. That was always an important thing to know, because that will affect where we room the guests. If the guests are smokers, we will room them close to the smoking lounge, so that it's a short trot for them to be able to go and get their fix. Trips that we do on Rovos Rail, on Shangri-La Express, is Southern Cross, and this is a 11-night journey. So people always ask me, how would you describe the differences between Shangri-La Express and Rovos Rail? And I always say to people that Rovos Rail, it's all about the lap of luxury on a train, and we happen to give you an excursion a day, where on Shangri-La, she's more of a touring train. She does longer journeys. She does 12 days and 15-day itineraries. And this hotel and transfer just happened to be a hotel on wheels. So it takes you from place to place. You're traveling less during the daytime, because you're doing sometimes more than one excursion a day. So to take you to all the places of interest. On the Southern Cross, the journey starts or ends in Victoria Falls, and you will see places like your Mpumalanga. You will see you'll go through through Zimbabwe. So there's and all of these nights are actually slept on the train. There's on this journey there is no off-train location. Then another trip. So yeah, that's the journey there. Then another trip we do is the Walvis Bay journey, or we call it June Express. This is also a 12-day journey. Rovos Rail does this journey as a 9-day journey, and on Shangri-La she's 12 days. The reason, or the fundamental differences between here, is that Rovos Rail goes Pretoria, Kruger National Park, Swaziland, Durban, then we come inland and we go down to Dar, and then we go up towards Walvis Bay. We're on Rovos Rail. We'll fly you into Sossusvlei on a light aircraft, which is included in the rate. You spend a night at Sossusvlei Lodge. The next morning, you climb in the sand dunes, eating breakfast under the thorn trees, back on the light aircraft, back to Windhoek, and then you proceed up to Tunep, where you spend a night in the Tosha National Park, and then the journey ends in Walvis Bay. This journey is exactly the same. The only difference is that it's not a flying safari into Sossusvlei, it's now a bus trip. I've done both Rovos Rail and Shangri-La. I must tell you, we have a historian that travels the entire duration of this journey. And this chap, if you give him half a moment, he'll talk to you about fauna, flora, political climates of South Africa, and the old Southwest Africa, and now the new Namibia. He'll be able to fill you in on that, and it is very entertaining. And it's about a 3.5 hour journey on that bus. Very pleasant, very comfortable. In addition to the Rovos Rail journey I've just described to you, they also cover area like Luderitz, Kormanskorp, and Keetmanshoop, 3 areas that Rovos Rail does not cover. Hence the difference in the programs between 9 days and 12 days. So that is the biggest difference there. And there's the journey I was just mentioning out Pretoria down to Dar, and then up to Windhoek, flying Safari, the bus trip into Sossusvlei, and then end the journey. Coincidentally, the hotels that we use on this journey are mainly Maputi Lodge for the Tosha National Park, and Sossusvlei for the Sossusvlei section. That's the same accommodation we use on Rovos Rail as well. Hence my comment earlier about the fact that the quality is very similar between the 2 brands. Then another trip we do is the Good Hope. This is a 15-day trip. This trip over here starts in Pretoria. This is very similar to the Clarge journey that we do on Rovos Rail. So it goes Pretoria, Kruger National Park, down to Swaziland, then down to Durban, over the Drakensberg Mountain, and then we go to Kimberley, and then down to Port Elizabeth, and all the way along the Garden route into Cape Town. This trip on Rovos Rail has golfing options, which is included in the rate, and the green fees, caddy fees, and buggy fees are included on the Rovos Rail Collage journey. On this journey, if the guests want to play golf, we have an allocation. We will get you to the golf course. The green fees, buggy fees, and caddy fees on this journey on Shangri-La is a personal expense, but you are able to play golf if you so wish. Of course, there are, in the red, you can see that the different excursions that we offer along the journey. So it's an absolutely lovely journey. Actually, one of my favorites on Shangri-La Express. Then that's the journey. So what we've now done during lockdown, we've now invented or put together a new journey, and we're calling this journey is now a combination of both the African Collage and the Walvis Bay journey. So you can see it now goes, and this will be a 15-day journey. So it goes Pretoria, Kruger National Park, Swaziland, Durban, over the Drakensberg Mountain, down to Dar, up to Windhoek, where you do your trip into Sossusvlei, spend a night in the desert there, back to the train, up to Tunep, spend a night in the Tosha National Park, and then the journey ending in Walvis Bay. This is going to really, really, really be a banger of a trip, and we will be launching her next year in 2022. A new trip we're putting together. We're still actually finalizing the legalities on this trip. I do not think that we will launch her in 2022, just based on the delays we've been receiving from ministers of tourism from other countries, and getting all of our contracts in place. Will be the Malawi meander, and this journey is going to be quite fun as well, where we'll go Pretoria, Swaziland, then through Zimbabwe, and then into Mozambique, ending in Malawi at Lilongwe. So that's going to also be quite a nice journey as well. Then Rovos Rail, Pullman Suite, that is the same as the Gold on Shangri-La Express. Here, traditionally, we used to have her as a sofa during the daytime, and while you are having your evening meal, that bed gets converted into a queen-size bed. So we do this on the shorter journeys. So for example, our Cape Towns, our Durbans, and our Victoria Falls will still be the case whether it is a sofa. We would normally have these on the train. So sofa during the daytime, and while you're having your evening meal, it gets converted into a queen-size bed. What I would like to say is that try to book deluxe or offer deluxe. The reason being is after you've had 4 courses with wine pairing at lunchtime, you are going to want to have visitors, and either your travel companion is going to watch you have a sleep, or you're going to watch them have a sleep, because you're not going to both be able to cuddle up on this little sofa bed over here. So, because that will get converted into queen size bed at dinner time. So that's a bit converted there. All of our train suites and cabins on both Rovos and Shangri-La have their own private bathrooms, and that includes a walk-in shower, a toilet, and a basin. That's our minimum we have in the train. Our opposition that everybody refers or compares us against, they actually do not all have their own bathrooms, and this opposition is abroad. They will be 7 suites sharing 1 toilet, where we on Rovos Rail we all have our own bathrooms. Then the Pullman Gold we use on the longer journeys. This is what we've done now after we did the refurb on Shangri-La, where you can have your twin beds made up on a full-time basis with the pathway in between, or you can have it made up on a queen size basis. Need to know at booking stage which ones you want in order for our staff to prepare the suite accordingly. So that will be important on the long term, and our res people will prompt you for this information. That's the Pullman Gold. Then our Deluxe, that's made up lengthwise, just photographic images. And then the Deluxe Suites is the same as the Emerald on Shangri-La size-wise. Here you can see you have a sitting chair. This tabletop is on top of your bar fridge, which gets filled with the drinks of your choice. We are sold on a full board basis, which means all of your drinks, all of your meals, and all of your excursions are included in our rate. So you tell us that you're a white wine drinker and your travel companion is a gin drinker, we'll make sure the fridge is stocked accordingly with juices and whatever you want. Like I mentioned, the entire length of the suite is a luggage rack. So from a space perspective, there is plenty packking space available. The luggage is not taken off of your guests and put into a storeroom. You physically will have your luggage with you at all times. That's the Deluxe Suite. The Royal is the top of the range. So on Rovos Rail, we have 3 suite types, where on Shangri-La, we only have 2 suite types. You can see that this is a Royal Suite. The armchair is a little bit more plush. It's now more of a wing back than an upright chair. Fresh flowers will be inside the suite in the Rovos as well. In the Royal Suite. And in addition to your walk-in shower, toilet, and basin, you will also have a Victorian bathtub. So very, very comfortable way to travel. Regardless of what suite type you book, being Pullman or Deluxe or Royal, or your Gold or your Emerald, all meals are identical. So and you have access to all spaces on the train. I mention that because some cruise liners, if you are booking a cheaper room option, you may not go to deck 7. Well, we don't have a deck 7, so you're safe in this case. So you are able to have the same access, the same meals are provided, the same drink entitlement is allowed as well. So there's no distinction. The only thing is that you get the suite type that you've booked and paid for. This is the Midway Lounge. So this, in addition to having the ops car at the back of the train, when we have more than 42 passengers, there'll be a second sitting space, also a combination of tubs and sofas. And this image must have been taken about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because I see the hostess busy serving tea here. And just behind these two pictures on the wall here is a kitchen area where hot drinks, alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages are served all day. So it will be a great place to sit either at the back of the train or in the middle of the train. Again, there's a separate smoking area, just like Shangri-La Express. This is the ops car, our signature piece. You saw another image earlier on Shangri-La where you saw the bar area. That bar area will just be on the right-hand side of this image. Combination of sofas and tub chairs. We coincidentally manufacture all this furniture ourselves. We have our own upholstery department at Rovos Rail, which is part of the tour. Our tub chairs and our sofas are slightly shorter in the leg, meaning they're not as wide. They're certainly not the size that you would buy from a Corrie Craft, just obviously because we're restricted to the width of our coach. So our tub chairs are slightly narrower on the bottom. It's not the meals that are making you put weight on. It's actually our chairs are slightly smaller just to be in proportion to the train, but it would still be comfortable seating. And then behind the hostess here is the sliding door taking to the outside veranda where you can sit outside. These sides are open so you can watch the countryside go by or feel the sun at times on your skin as well. Beautiful. On Rovos Rail, dress requirements for dinner is formal, so you are required to wear a jacket and tie if you're a gentleman. The ladies, are required to dress up a bit too. But during the daytime, you can wear whatever you wish in the formal smart casual. The dress requirements on Shangri-La, because the trips are much more longer in duration, she is a casual train. So the dress requirements on Shangri-La is smart casual. So long pants for the gentleman and a collared shirt is the requirements. No jacket and tie required on Shangri-La, but it is required on Rovos Rail. I must say we sometimes do get pushback from our agents and from our passengers regarding the dress requirements. It definitely steps it up a bit. And a lot of the gentlemen will take their jackets straight off as they get to the dining car and put it behind their chair anyway. So, but it definitely does make it quite romantic at night time seeing everybody dressed up. I've been cheeky and put in a second image, which I stole from Shangri-La. This is what the second dining car looks very similar on Rovos Rail. The curtains are a bit more different, but like I said, same crockery and cutlery, same lookout. And I always refer to this dining coach as the Wimpy because she's a little bit more casual than what that dining car looks like there. So, but the same meals will be served in both dining cars wherever you choose to sit. So during the daytime, these are big picturesque windows. So when I'm on the train, I tend to eat my breakfast and lunch, looking at the countryside while I'm having a meal. Where at night time, since the curtains will be drawn and there'll be candlelight and stuff, it's a little bit more romantic. So I tend to eat my evening meals, with my jacket and tie inside the dining car. But it's really up to your guests where they would like to sit. Journeys, or some changes we made on Rovos Rail rather, is on our Cape Town journey. We used to depart from Pretoria at 3 o'clock on a Friday and on a Wednesday when we did those departures. Pre-COVID, we've now changed that departure time to 11 a.m. We did that for two reasons. The first reason is that our check-in for a 3 o'clock departure will be at 2 p.m., which means that they would probably be in a transfer at lunchtime. And we had guests that were arriving at our station and they were angry and they were couldn't get enough of our sandwiches because they were now hungry and they were climbing on our train grumpy. So we decided to rather leave a little bit earlier. So the guests would depart at 11 o'clock. And after they've been inducted into, the layout of their suite, they would then, virtually go straight into lunch. And so we would rather give the guests another lunch on the train, and which also gives us a little bit more traveling time. And that little bit of traveling time we use to try and ensure that we get your guests to the destination on time. Like I mentioned, we do not use our own traction for this, which means it's not our own locomotives. So we are at the mercy of the railway provider to give us a green light to travel. So sometimes they will say, sorry, Rovos Rail, you need to stop. There's a train ahead of you. And the guests might go, but why we stopped? It looks open, but they can't see the traffic ahead that may be out of sight. So we are at the mercy of the provider to go when they give us the green light. So based on that, it gives us a few hours extra between the 11 o'clock departure and the 3 o'clock. We still arrive in Cape Town at 6 o'clock on the day of arrival on day 3. Cape Town, we depart at the same time at 11 o'clock. So check-in will be an hour before that, at 10 o'clock at our own lounge opposite the station in Cape Town. And we arrive a little bit later. We used to arrive in Pretoria at 12 o'clock on the day of arrival. On day 3, we now arrive at 1700 hours at 5 p.m. The reason being here again is we'd rather give the guests an extra lunch prior to arrival, where 12 o'clock you're climbing off, and then you're doing the site tour, which is now lunchtime, and then you're waiting for your transfer, and then you're in transit on the way to Johannesburg or to the airport or wherever, and it's people have now missed out on a meal, so hence the change there. That's just the journey there. 2 excursions on our Cape Town, being Kimberley Diamond Mine and Monkeyfontein. Another trip we've done a change is our Victoria Falls journey. So up until now, Victoria Falls, when I started 8 years ago, Victoria Falls was a 2-night journey. Then we made a 3-night journey with the excursion at Wangi National Park. And now we are going to be running the 4-night program in 2022 in conjunction with the 3-night program to see how well received it is. So we'd love to hear your feedback. This 4 nights will now give us an opportunity of adding 2 more excursions. And those excursions will be the ranch, so a game drive at the ranch in Polokwane, and then also a walk around tour of the Gwanda village. And there that your guests will have an opportunity to buy some curios. There also will be local people, singing and dancing, and it's quite a festive set up there. So that will be the journey, and that is from 2022. We'll be running 3-night itineraries as well as the new 4-night itineraries. So our staff will prompt you at the time of booking which one is available, and give you the relevant itineraries accordingly. Then the Durban Safari. This is a seasonal journey. In the past, we've always traveled during the summer months, and we're traveling this journey once a month in both directions during the summer months. Half the distance to Cape Town, so we do 3 excursions compared to 2 on Cape Town, where we do a big 5-game drive at Mbiti Game Lodge. We do another game drive at Spionkop Nature Reserve, or a choice between Spionkop is our Battlefields History Tour, and that's an incredible history tour about the Anglo-Boer War. I was not a history person in school, but I tell you what, this chap is an incredible storyteller, and he draws all the nationalities in. So he will say at the start there, what nationality are you from? Hong Kong? Are you from the UK? Are you from America? You from South Africa? And he'll tell the story, and he will say the political climate in Hong Kong at the time was this, which had a direct influence on the local government here. And he'll bring all of that history in, an incredible storyteller. That is, his surname is Heron, incredible storyteller. And then that's the journey there, 2 nights, 3 days. Okay, then we've done another trip. Another trip we do is the Golf Safari. That's 9 days. This is for our serious golfers. There's a leisure itinerary in conjunction with the golfers. And on this trip, this is the trip that starts and ends in Pretoria. You can play golf at various places along the way, listed below. And if you're not a golfer, we'll have a public relations person on the train that will then escort those guests to various places of interest, which is not golfing related. That's, like I said, it starts and ends. It goes Pretoria, Kruger National Park, Swaziland, Durban, over the Drakensberg Mountain to Sun City, and then back. So that's a 9-day journey, or 10-day journey, 9 nights. And then we do a Walvis Bay journey. I did cover that earlier in comparison to the one that we offer on Stronghold Express. So that is 9 nights, 10 days. We've covered that. And then we do African collage. I did show you this as well, or mention it on our trip that we're doing on Shangri-La, where we've now taken this section here down to here, and then married it onto the Windhoek journey, or the Walvis Bay journey rather. And then our longest journey that we do on Rovos Rail is 40 nights, 15 days. And that is a journey going through 5 different countries. And that's between Cape Town and Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. that's going through South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Zambia, into Tanzania. So incredible journey. 2 nights off the train, 1 night 3 nights, 2 nights at Tower Game Lodge and 1 night at Vic Falls Hotel, included in the rate. And then the new journey that we did just before COVID hit us was Dar es Salaam to Lobito. The first time ever a train could travel from the east coast of Africa to the west coast, and that was us. So a significant achievement, not only for railway travel, but also for Rovos. So that journey goes Dar es Salaam, it goes through Tanzania, the top end of Zambia, at the bottom end of the DRC into Angola. And normally when I say the bottom, and it is a very safe part to travel, all the drama always happens way up north in the DRC. And also this area was also not affected with the Ebola and that type of thing as well. We wouldn't even put our worst staff members onto this journey if we thought it was unsafe, let alone our guests. So we are very, very comfortable traveling this journey. I always describe it not as a journey for the faint-hearted. What I mean by that is that it's definitely an explorer's type of journey, because you are going through parts of the country that are not very touristy. Beautiful, beautiful journey. I was one of the chaps that had to do national service, and I actually was based in Oshikati, and we were fighting against Angola. Now we're hugging each other and shaking hands and doing tourism together. It's incredible how forgiving people can be. And then another journey we're doing is now Victoria Falls to Lobito. So we could only do this journey before going into Angola if we came from Dar es Salaam. And now we thought, how can we travel this more often and not having to get the train first from Cape Town to Dar es Salaam? So we then will now, going forward from 2022, we'll take a normal Pretoria to Victoria Falls. And when the train is in Victoria Falls, we can then actually conduct this journey here from Victoria Falls to Lobito as one way, then do the return leg before we take the train back from Victoria Falls to Pretoria. So it's clever. And then we've got 3 beautiful guest houses in Cape Town. I always say to all of our guests, all of our best reference tools will be our websites, rovos.com, shangri-la.com, and stjames.com. All of our itineraries, photographic images, maps, frequently asked questions are all listed on there. And just like every other provider, we really are trying to show travel confidence. So if you stand long enough at our station or on our train, we probably will bath you in sanitizer. We're using foggers, we're taking temperatures before every single meal. We're sanitizing luggage. We have gone as far as the service providers that we use for excursions, what is their policies regarding COVID, and is it in line with best practice and first world standards. So we're doing whatever we can do to try and prove that we are a safe way to travel. And we'll have our first Dar es Salaam leaving us in 2 weeks' time. So it'll be our first long journey that goes through multiple journeys since COVID. So we're quite excited about that trip as well. And that's me in a nutshell. Like I said, if there's anything that you would like to chat to me about, my email address is ian@rovos.co.za. You're more than welcome to contact me direct. I'll check now to see if there's any email addresses if anyone wants me to contact them. But you're more than welcome to give us a shout or chat to our people in Res. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. That's a beautiful presentation.
Thank you very much. Any questions, anybody?
Hi, thanks, Ian. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
There are some questions. The first one is, how does Rovers cope with the lack of maintenance of tracks and signals? And how do you cope with Transfect?
Our owner has taken a very mature approach to that. And so whilst he does go and have regular meetings with Transnet, and we also have 2 chaps on staff that are permanently liaising with Transnet, he does not wait for Transnet to do certain things. For example, cutting back of trees against the railway lines that would scratch our train, we would send a crew out and do that. If we disembarking from various stations, we would send a crew in advance to make sure that the weeds in that station are cut down. We would even sometimes paint stations. If, for example, like in Port Elizabeth, when we go to Addo, we've painted stations there just to make it look a little bit more attractive for our inbound tourists. So we are doing whatever we can do. We send crews out in advance of our long journeys to make sure the railway tracks. We don't travel fast on the railway lines at all. So we never go faster than 60 kilometers an hour, mostly 40 kilometers an hour, just from a safety perspective. From that basis, we really are trying to offer a first world product in a third world country, and it's something that Rowan takes very seriously, is continuously what can we do. We're not waiting for Transnet to hand stuff to us. What can we do differently to ensure that we continue to run our business?
And then another question that we have is, how do you handle PCR test when you have an over 9-day itinerary with excursions in various countries?
Okay, good question. So this policy will probably be ever changing, because at this moment in time, COVID is not an exact science, and as medical stuff changes, so our policy will change in relation to that. So at this moment in time, on our Cape Town, our shorter journeys, we want a negative test, an antibody or an antigen test. As the country continues to get inoculated or vaccinated rather, we will then probably move over to a system where produce your card, and that type of thing, but we are not there quite yet. So we're still asking to present a negative test. On the longer journeys, a PCR test, for example, like when we're doing Victoria Falls, we tell the agent or the passenger that the test will be required at lunchtime the day prior to departure, so it's valid at the time that we enter into Zimbabwe. Then, for example, with our Dar es Salaam train, we are now having medical staff come and meet our guests in order for other PCR tests to be done as they leave one country and enter another. So we are organizing those logistics as part of the trip for guests to be able to do whilst they, under our care, moving from one country to another.
Okay, cool. And then the last one that I actually wanted to find out, is there any entertainment on the Rovers and Shangri-La?
We don't have banjo players, or we don't do serenading or that type of thing. But I must tell you that I've done all the trips in both directions. Between having high tea in the afternoon and doing excursions during the daytime and meeting new people, I must say that probably from day 2 onwards, you probably won't want to eat a meal on your own because people will be inviting you. It's not something that's missed. It's not something that you feel that you have to. We do have, all latest magazines. We have an interesting array of books on the train if you wanted to read a book. There are also, board games. So if you wanted to play dominoes or cards or whatever, you can do that type of entertainment. But most of the times, I must tell you that they're not even touched. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And also,
Awesome.
our lunches and our dinners are about 2.5 hours. So it's quite an extravaganza. So, with the wine pairing and stuff. So between that, you hardly out of that, and an hour and a half later, hot tea is thrown at you. So it's kind of keeps you entertained a lot of the time. Yeah.
No, definitely. And then obviously I can safely say that there's no televisions on the train either.
Yeah. So we celebrate that bygone era, and the reason being is that other people that have tried to have televisions, it's not going to give you a clear signal because of the places we're going through, and also Wi-Fi. You're going through vast places where uninterrupted service would be expected. And we would not want to offer anything that is not going to be something that's going to be of top standard the whole way. And also, Rowan always says, like the art of conversation is a forgotten art. And when you hide behind your mobile, I travel a lot on my own, and I tend to do that. I sit at a meal and I sit on Facebook just so that I'm eating my meal. I'm not with somebody, that's fine. But on Rovos Rail, you might talk to people next to you from different countries or whatever, And it's remarkable the friendships that are made on the train because we have that policy in place.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're not the television people. We're not the Wi-Fi people.
Awesome. Awesome. Ian, I don't see any other questions. So thank you so, so much for joining us and for giving us that amazing presentation. We really do appreciate it. And then hopefully we'll see you soon.
Excellent. And one last thing from my side, if you are ever in the Pretoria area, please give us a shout. If you'd love to come and see our station, I'd love to show it off, or a member of our team.
Oh, that's awesome.
Best time would be at the time of a departure, so you can get the feel of the drama that I explained to you about the train coming onto the platform, the train shunting off. But we'd love to show you our property. So if you're ever in the area,
Awesome.
drop us a line in advance and let's see if we can make it happen.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Hey?
Take care.
Thanks,
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Bye.